Welcome to Marsha's Plate. This is an interview episode where we talk to friends, family, other community members, and anybody else we want to talk to. Hey brother, hey brother, hey sister, hey sister, hey sibling, how are you? Hey brother, hey brother, hey sister, hey sister, hey sibling, how are you? Hey, how you been doing? Just checking in today. Hey, what's up, y'all? This is your girl Diamond. I am here with one of my favorite people in the community. I just love when I see her out. I love to see her coming because first of all, she a fly ass bitch. That's first of all. She always fly. She always look good, and you know she like me. She's a Southern girl that is in like a battleground state doing amazing work. This is Jasmine Tasaki. She's the founder of We Care Tennessee. She's an interim co-managing executive director at Black and Pink. She was born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee, and she's just like this. She has grown into this powerhouse when it comes to advocacy and organizing. And overall, she's just a dope ass fly ass chick that I love. And so I wanted to bring her on my show to share her with y'all. Welcome, Jasmine.
Hey y'all. Thank you, sis. I'm so excited to be here. Um, as we were in the pre-meeting before the interview, I was like, let me save everything. So now I'll tell you, I was like spraying perfume on. I was getting ready for Marsha's plate, baby. I just got all into the field. So I'm so excited to be here. And I'm just honored that you're taking the time to even get to know me deeper and to allow your listeners to get to know me as well.
So I'm always when I'm around you, it's two things. So when I was kind of like researching and finding stuff about you, it's two things. First of all, I didn't know we were similar in age. I thought you was way younger than me. I thought we are
No,
similar in age. And I
yes.
thought, and so when I was, and the reason why that is because anytime I'm around you, there is a childlike, not childish, but like a childlike curiosity and openness in your spirit that reminds me of a young girl that hasn't been wore out by the world. You know, yeah, us old bitches can get kind of bitter. And so
Yeah.
there's always a fresh, new innocence about you, but it's also there's a down to earth Southern auntie type of vibe to you too. So that's probably what I was picking up. But yeah, it's always just like, oh, she's so cool, she's so down to earth, and she's so real. But definitely accessible. You feel accessible. You don't feel like you're putting on airs for motherfuckers. You don't feel like it just feels like, oh, she cool. I don't feel like you putting on. It feels like, yeah, I'm a bad bitch, but I ain't trying. I'm doing this for me because I like being a bad bitch. I ain't doing it to kind of put on for people. So that's what I love about being in your presence.
Thank you.
So tell me about like your growing up. Like, what does your growing up look like in Memphis? You know, born to your mom. What does your family unit look like growing up?
So, my mom is from Memphis, and
First of all, I
she is.
love your mom. Your mom cool as hell. When I married, her, she was cool too.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Everybody loves my mom. So my mom is from Memphis originally, and my dad was born in Hawaii, grew up in the Bay Area of California. So you got this Hawaiian and Japanese man, Hawaiian and white, I'm sorry, man, and then you have my mom, who's a black woman from Memphis, had a child, and I grew up in Memphis around a lot of Black excellence, and everything about our family was built on education, Christianity, and success. So in my early years, did a lot of things that were outside of the box for some children. I excelled in many areas, and I was also really into church. So growing up, I was like, I just was this child who was also outgoing, also very outspoken. That made it challenging at times. But I was somebody that really knew what it was to be a Black person and to achieve more than what was expected of you by white people. I grew up in the South, so it was really important to my family to be educated, but also to be aware of your rights and who you are as a Black person and what that meant, especially in that time. My aunts, uncles, parents all marched with Martin Luther King and just were in those pivotal moments of civil rights movements in the 60s and 70s. So that was really something that was monumental in our family. And that legacy was continued by my grandmother, my aunts, my uncles. My grandmother worked the polls for years. So, you know, uh, seeing civic engagement in my family was something that was normalized way before, I was even an adult. And then I transitioned
How old
and
were you?
things changed. I was 13 when my mother really was fully aware and aligned with me going in that direction. I would say 13, maybe 14.
What year was that? Like
Um,
96,
that was
97?
96, 97.
Okay.
Yeah. So, wow. So now
It's a while.
let me say this. Now, I was one of those children that was involved in many things that were conducive to me being a successful adult, but also I was still quite the child when it came to being into other things. So I started smoking weed at a very early age. Now, this was just experimenting with weed, but we just have to call a thing, right? So by the time I transitioned, I was well equipped with the tools it took to manipulate my parents and my family. Like they would think I was at church on a Friday night. I'll never forget. There's a minister in Memphis, Tennessee, that is very popular. And during this time, he was a youth pastor. And they had what was called Friday Night Live, I think, but it was for like you had it at church and all those things. But baby, I was at the club, okay? And I was telling my family I was like at Friday Night Live and all these things. So I, as I transitioned, really leaned into a different part of who I am or who I was. And I started to make some really tough decisions that later on, put me in some tougher situations.
Mhm.
So growing up, I also was very talented in hair and makeup. So that was a common theme in my life as well. That was a way for me to make money. And it was also a way for me to show up art in an artistic way and have that release. I also was in theater and choir at a very early age, so I was always connected to some form of artistic expression. And yeah, as I transitioned, that is no different because that's how I came into pageantry.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I chose sex work as an occupation when I was probably about 17 years old. And
Was it so go back a little bit before we get to there. Go back a little bit. So when you were kind of you growing up and kind of in the church and they're kind of steering the child in the direction and they're doing the steering you because I grew up in the church too, so they're steering you. When was the shift that and was it a particular thing? Was it rebellion? When was the shift where you was kind of like what led you to kind of like going outside of that and kind of going to the club? How did that kind of come about in your young years?
I don't know if it was a shift. I think that something that I didn't even talk about was through childhood, I was molested. There were several instances, and I learned later on in life that something I thought I fantasized about actually happened to me, and I was very young. But saying that to say, at 6, 7, 8 years old, I was kind of rebellious in my own way, and I also had this fascination, I guess, with sex.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that I later learned was like, okay, I was being molested, but I don't even know sometimes what that looks like because like, girl, as a child, there was so many things that I was going through sexually with other children, and it wasn't even about just older people doing things like just all the experiences that I had as a child with other children and older children. So by the time I was 13, when I transitioned, Miss Mama thought she was grown, right? And that's when my real sex life probably started, but there was so many experiences prior to that. Just even girl with like boys in the neighborhood and like it just went on and on and on. So I think that me going to the club and stuff was also connected to me being that girl. Like I had already established at 8 years old who that girl
Mm.
inside was. So 13 was a culmination of me bringing outward with everything. And I had been already experimenting and dressing myself as I felt since like 9 years old. And maybe even earlier, like girl, I was playing in my mama heels from the time that her heels was 2 times too big until they was 2 times too small.
Right.
Right? I was doing that and the t-shirt on the head and like all the things that all of us can like we've heard, right?
Right.
So by the time I was 13, girl, I thought I was grown. And my friends were in like the 12th grade, and some of them were 18. So I had IDs to get in real clubs. I was going to the teenage clubs at 11, 12, and 13. We used to have clubs in Memphis for teenagers, and they would be open till like 1 in the morning. But I was doing that. And then by the time I turned 13, it kind of went into overdrive.
How did
So,
your mom and your dad respond to that?
I think at first it was really hard for my mama, but I think it was harder for her between the ages of like 8 to 13. By the time I was 13, it was kind of like, okay, it's a relief. We at least at a point where I'm saying yes, this is who I am.
Okay.
So we had to work from that place. My dad, I really backed up from my dad because I assumed a lot of things. I assumed what he may would have thought. But also it was a culture shock for all of my family because once my mama was okay, then I was like, okay, let's do this. This is
But
who I
he's
am.
also Hawaiian. They have like a long history of training
Well,
and
so
culture.
my dad was born in Hawaii, but my grandmother was a Japanese immigrant and my grandfather was white. So there's a lot of cultural erasure that has happened. Even when I said my daddy was Hawaiian, I don't even know how that came out. There's so much to say that my dad was. So my daddy was born in Hawaii on the island of Oahu. But his mother came from Japan there with her sister and my grandmother married a white man. And from there was born my dad, my auntie, and all my uncles.
Okay.
And even my auntie had gone through some similar experiences to myself as, growing up. So a lot of the things and choices that I made, I later learned were like cultural trauma choices. So yeah, I chose to lean into like all those scenes of like rebellion
Okay.
from the age of like 14 on up. Look, meanwhile, keeping good grades and going to church. That's something you had to do in my house. I don't know how I mastered them both, but I did.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you start 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. You kind of like running the street with your other teenage friends. Some people a little bit older, some people same age, da 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 da. How did the sex work stuff start? Did it start from a need? Did it start from how did it actually start to manifest?
Oh, girl, you going deep. So, that question is deep. and it's funny. To me, it's funny as hell. So I was 17 years old and I had been in some trouble and I was on house arrest. And at that time, house arrest for somebody my age looked like they called your house, made sure you were there like 2 times, and then you were good. So I was with my grandparents. I don't know. You know what? I can barely remember. I think we stayed at my grandparents' house. I don't even know if my mom was there or if it was just me. But anyway, whoever was there, I would answer the phone and say I was there, and I would sneak out later on. And the only place that was open were the gay clubs. I didn't go to them before that. And so now they were late. It was late, I started going. And I met a lot of the other girls. And they were like talking about how the men be paying them and all of that. And I'm like, girl, if they paying you, I know.
I can make a coin, baby.
I'm like, so where is this place? And yeah, this was no glamorous place now. This was a stroll. This was like back when we were walking the streets. And it was a bold move for somebody my age. And also it was when I look back as an adult and also now that I'm a parent, as I look back, I'm like, whoa, I see why my mama was so worried and so shocked. But yeah, I went into their place and did that work for many years.
Mm. I always wonder that because I I got I got custody of my brother when I was 21 and I got fired from a regular job. Prior to that, I hadn't done any kind of sex work. And so
Mhm.
because I had got custody of him and I had lost my job, my homegirl, my trans homegirl was like, yo, you might want to put you up ahead. And that's how I got introduced to it. Now I saw girls on the stroll, but because I grew up in church, I had like this judgmental, like, oh, these bitches is prostitutes. What? Like, I never, in my brain, I was kind of like on some stuck up shit. Like, what? I would never do that. Fucking niggas for and sucking dick. And even though I'm doing all this fucking shit for free with trade and
Right.
neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. But in my brain, it was different because my church upbringing said that prostitution was bad, getting money for sex was bad. You know what I'm saying? And so that's how I thought about it. So I
Well,
never
you know
went
what?
on it.
When I did it, there was, so let me be clear, there was levels for me. When I did it starting out, there were ads, but it also depended where you live, right? In Memphis, it wasn't a big thing. Like somewhere like New York and California, there were ads in newspapers. You could put an ad out,
Hmm.
right? But we didn't that wasn't the way we did it in Memphis. And like in Memphis, just in the cis hetero scene, pimping and hoeing and all them things, that was a big thing. So like hitting the blade and getting on the stroll and making $1,000 in a night was a real thing. So for me, that was something that I did and conquered. And then it went on to escort services.
Hmm. What
And
what time was this?
I probably was about maybe 20. I don't know. I can't even remember. All those
The
years
early
are a blur.
2000s.
But
Early
the
2000s.
early 2000s, and after the escort services started, the Craigslist ads, then it went on to the back page and all those things and the TS for rent,
Yeah.
later. But like, girl, I'm like, I got it out the mud. There were no ads for me in the beginning. And I won't even say what them prices was back then, baby. God forbid I release those prices.
Release.
Oh, relax. I'm like, I was just watching a different world last night when they were saying, relax, relax, relax. But baby, I won't release them prices, but it wasn't, the money was good. I used to work the casinos. That was a large part of my life. Meanwhile, I was still doing hair, managing salons, being a makeup artist, working on music videos, all these different things. And just like I've always been a person that's held a lot of spaces and worn a lot of hats. So,
Were you living
yeah, that
alone or you still, when did you move out from your parents?
I want to say I know I was 18. I think oh yeah, I was 18, about to be 19. So I always lived with my mom from like around that time, but I also used to live with my gay mom, Miss Tandy Mon Dupree. Shout out.
So that's what
And
I wanted to ask you. Growing up, who were some of the people in Memphis that were like elders that you was like I admire or that kind of steered me and protected me a little bit? Or you know what I'm saying? Like who are some of the people in Memphis that was like these were people that was older than me, but they were like the girls?
it was Tandy Mon Dupree, Tanisha Cassadine, Pebbles, were basically the older girls, but back in those days, those girls, some of those girls were only like 5 years older than me. So they were older, but not much older. Tanisha Cassadine was much older, but in theory, not really. She probably was about 12 years older. And I can barely remember the ages because so many of them died young. And everybody had such an impact on my life. Because there were so many, so many. Not a lot of them identified as trans, that wasn't even a thing, right? That was a thing for some people, but in Memphis, there was not much access. So that was also why my journey was a little different because I didn't have a lot of women that of trans experience to really follow.
Okay.
But yeah, so we had a couple of mothers of the city to take care of us and also to show some influence. And Tanisha was somebody that was by me. Tandy died very young. She was 26 years old when she died. But like Tanisha was here throughout many years and really took care of me and was somebody that I looked to for inspiration. Tandy taught me all about the streets. Like I learned about a lot about life on the streets, a lot about life in general, just the practical things in life from Tandy.
Mm.
And a lot about the stage. A lot about the stage from both of them.
You talk about pageantry.
Yes.
How did when did you get by that bug? I call it the drag bug. When did you get hit by that bug?
I probably was about 18, 19, maybe at the most. Um, and it was something, and it's always been that in my life, just an artistic way for me to show up and express myself. But it later proved to be a point of redemption and salvation for me in life, where I could forgive myself and just have a connection to, who I am. And Tanisha was really instrumental in making pageantry save my life a lot of times.
I love that.
So, in my later years, a lot of the pageants I did were just because I needed to be protected and get somewhere and sit down, as Tanisha.
Right. And people don't understand that. Sometimes it's not just about the entertainment. Sometimes it's like, yo, I'm just trying to do this to get my mind off of shit. And now I got something to focus on. And yo, I want to compete in this pageant. And you get what I'm saying? Instead of me just being out here all willy-nilly. That makes total sense. Oh my God, I want to thank all of our new patrons this week. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yay, 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 yay. So, not only are you helping to sustain this particular podcast, I also donate to other podcasts, I donate to other organizations. I have my finger on the pulse of the community. And I know a lot of grassroots organizations that are doing great work out here. So you're not only helping to sustain us, you're helping to sustain other people in a community because I put my money where my mouth is. That's just the kind of bitch I am. Community is fuck. So thank you. I really, really appreciate you. And if you have not become a patron, why have you not? You can donate as low as $1 a month. It doesn't matter. Anything helps. Please. Do I have to play Sarah McLachlan and show you puppies? Like, what do I have to do? Do I have to resort to what the white people do to get you to give them money? All righty. Anyway, thank y'all. And the Patreon and PayPal link is at the bottom. Back to the show. So, another thing that we have in common is that we have kind of our life has put us in a situation where we have become surrogate parents, and I want to talk about your experience coming into that responsibility of taking care of certain people in your family and how that has steered some of your decisions. So tell me about you becoming a parent.
Uh, well, I think I'm just a good ass auntie. That's first. So like all of my nieces and nephews, well, I have one niece and the rest nephews. I'm accessible. I'm there. I think that it's important to me because I didn't necessarily have that with my dad's side of the family. I had that with my mom's side. They're all about family. Like we're so connected on my mom's side. Even like the family reunion family, we're connected to them. So I always yearned for that with my dad's side. And so just showing up as who I needed to see and be when I was a child was always important to me as an auntie. And then when my brother passed away, I was able to start helping my brother's baby mom with my nephew and well, it started with me helping with another one of my nephews and then started to help with this nephew and essentially end up getting custody and it does affect the decisions that I make. I can't be that girl no more. No, I could be I could be that girl, but not that girl.
Another
But
thing that make you go sit your ass down.
right. 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 So yeah, just being her and learning who her is in this space is really phenomenal because I prayed for this day and this time. I prayed and asked God to bless my nephew with a life that is worry free and where he has to want for nothing. And I told God that I would sacrifice all of my party ways and, party favors and all the things in order to provide a stable place where he can be safe. And girl, God kept his promise. Hallelujah and oh Lord. Because that means I have to keep my promise and being a good steward of being a parent and understanding where sometimes you have to give and sometimes you have to not. And really understanding what sacrifice is about. It's been the lesson that I've learned. But yeah, it's been great. And I wouldn't change it for anything.
I remember growing up a situation with me and my little brother. So this is before I actually got custody of him. I was probably like 18. Um, and I moved to Mississippi, Walnut Grove, fucking Mississippi, right off of middle of fucking Mississippi, child. And I stayed with my mom and her boyfriend at the time. And my little brother was in like the fifth grade, I think. And me coming down there and living with them just opened him up to scrutiny because I was the trans woman and this small country ass town didn't know nothing about no trans shit.
Uh,
And so once the tea got out and people started talking about it, they were kind of teasing him about it. And so it made me feel really, really, really bad. But I told him, I was like, I feel bad, but I can't change who I am for some fucking fifth graders teasing you. I understand that it's unfair because this ain't got nothing to do with you, but I can't change who I am. And I did an interview with my brother where we talked about it. But the blessing, which comes years later, my brother, as an adult, says, I was so mad at you at that time, but now that I'm a grown ass man, I totally understand what the fuck you was telling me. Because at the end of the day, when all is said and done in my life, only motherfucker I have in my corner is that motherfucking Diamond Stylz. Nobody else. I can count on my wedding. My mama didn't come. My graduations, my daddy didn't come. But you know who the fuck was there? Diamond. When I was broke and needed something to help, my mama couldn't do it, my daddy couldn't do it, but Diamond could. She said, "Honey, she out here escorting, making money, and sending me money that honey, she done been out here turning tricks for." And so when he talks about it in a way that I didn't understand it then, but I understand it now because I don't even talk to none of them motherfuckers no more. But you have been such a staple in my life, and he totally understands it now as an adult. And that's what I told him. I said, you won't understand it now as a kid because it stings because you a fucking kid and they're bullying you about something that don't got nothing to do with you. But I'm going to be the only motherfucker that's supporting you. I'm telling you. I know because my mom was going through her addiction most of her life. She died of a fentanyl overdose in 2020. And so most of his life, she has been dealing with her addiction. And so I have been the stable person. And so I was like, I know who I'm going to be in your life. I know who I am. And then 3 years later, I got to get custody of him. He got to move in with me, all kinds of stuff. So part of me was kind of ashamed and kind of like, God, like, damn, I don't want my brother having to deal with effects of who I am. Like, I can deal with all the shit come because I made the decision to live my
mhm,
truth, but I didn't want it to kind of, always felt bad when shit was coming. Even when he lived with me, I wouldn't let him bring his friends over to my house because I was like, oh, I don't even want them if there even a chance of them clocking me. I don't want people in the neighborhood to wear you out. So
yeah,
tell me, do you ever have these
yeah.
kind of feelings or
You know what? I do. Um, and I so two things can be true. No, I don't have those feelings, and yes, I do. Normally, no, I don't. Um, with the current administration we live under, yes, I do. Uh, but I mean, I talk to my child, and I also ask him, I'm like, what was they saying about me? And I inquire with him. But I also think there's something that I've done and not. I don't want to project. You know what I'm saying? Like, girl, sometimes them kids ain't even thinking about you, right? And for me, I like to keep open communication with him because I know people may ask him why he lived with his auntie or things like that. So, like, I have conversations with him where I give him many answers, many options. I tell him why each answer is appropriate according to which way he may feel, whether if it's with adults or children. So, girl, we have so many conversations that honestly, the tea is kind of the last conversation because me and him have worked through that. Now, I have had conversations with him about the tea many times, but girl, I don't be worried about them folks. But I also do when I go, I'm looking very plain. I'm not trying to be sexy at all. I probably got on my glasses. Let me hold on. Let me show you. Probably got on my glasses,
All
trying
right.
to be trying to be very blendable. You know what I'm saying? Looking like a parent. And honestly, I think that I lead with no matter who and what. Because when I go and introduce myself, I'm the parent. That says everything. That ain't saying I'm the mama. That ain't saying I'm the auntie either. That's saying I'm the one signing everything. That's all you need to know. Right? So I deal with that. I'm big when I use in the bathrooms when I go places. Just because I'm a girl from I transitioned in 96. Until you know what this like, you pick and choose your bathrooms. I do use it when I got to, but that's why I don't use them. So that I know when I got to, it ain't gonna be nothing on nobody mind. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to the bathroom. But like you got a lot of people, and it's no shade to nobody, but I don't use my child spaces to be an advocate. Like this not his fight. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to blend when I go anywhere for my child. That's the goal, is to blend. I don't need shit sticking out because it's not what he's here for. You know what I'm saying? Like he's here to be a child. He's here to be the star. It's all about him. My shit is in the back burner. So,
Mm.
I if I have to use the bathroom, I do. But I also don't I don't discount what that means under this administration, being that we're on school property. Like if I go to a game and I need to use the bathroom, you know what I'm saying? I live in Mississippi now. I don't just live in Memphis anymore. I've moved to Mississippi. But it's a thing. And and I mean, girl, my nephew is 14 years old, so we having conversations around sex, consent, sexual health. So, it's so many conversations that we having, especially because we're in Mississippi. So, yeah, that's a thing, but girl, I don't be thinking about these people because I go in there, focus on my child. Anything else? And that's what I mean by I don't even be thinking about using the bathroom. When I'm up there for my child, I'm up there for my child. That's it.
And that's a part of your strategy. Like I ain't trying to buck up. Like you said, I ain't trying to be
Uh-huh.
an activist. I'm trying to do what's there for my kid and go
Yeah.
on back home to man my
Because
business.
my child ain't trans. That's the difference between every parent is different. Some people have trans kids. Now, if my child was trans, I'd be kicking the door down. But when my child being a cis heterosexual
Boy,
male
yeah.
child, I have to because I now don't get it twisted. I be talking to him about me being trans because I need him to be aware and have the understanding because he does have to navigate that in some way. But like I don't want the world making his story about that.
That makes sense.
Yep. So my aim is to blend, girl. And if you transition in the 90s, you know what blending is about.
Yeah.
So that makeup may not be all the way beat. It's just gonna be natural beat. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
that's I came out in '94. It's a certain level of it's not about the shock value. I know some people is into always being highlighted last. Da 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 da. Da.
And you know what? I used to be like that when I was a child. And I even go as far as to say until I became a parent. I wanted attention. I liked all that. But now, for the sake of having a child, girl, I like to play the background because I don't want because people are cruel. I don't want people projecting their hate for me on my child. But the good thing is, girl, everybody love my baby. Everybody love him. Like, he really makes friends wherever he goes. His teachers love him. He's that dude. So
Mhm.
I really enjoyed it.
So tell me about the first time that you felt like an advocate. Like you were like, whoa, this feels like advocacy. When is the first time that you was like, you may not have been intentionally doing the work, but you like, oh, this feels different. When did that start?
The first time I really felt like an advocate, I had been working for a nonprofit organization for about 2 years, and I was fired. And I went back to sex work. And no shade, I was doing sex work before I left that job. I wanted a little extra, okay? Uh, but I had to depend on sex work at this point. And I'm like, girl. And at the time, I was very much a girl that loved sex work and loved to use drugs. But I also loved my job and I was good at my job. And I want to create a space for those girls who do sex work and use drugs to be able to live, work, and thrive. And I thought that was so important. And nobody else was talking about that. Nobody else was talking about the fact that many of the Black transgender women who are leaders do sex work and use drugs. And I thought that that was very important. And I was like one of the first girls to really step out there and talk about it and say, yes, this is my story.
And what was it's obvious why that would be passionate, but why was that particular narrative important to talk about and build your platform on?
I love your questions. I love your questions. Keep that in the editing. I love your questions. It was so important to me because I had experienced so much violence because I was doing sex work and using drugs. And I was not aware of how vulnerable I was making myself in those spaces. And I needed some healing.
Mm,
And I knew if I needed to heal, there were some other people that needed to heal as well.
absolutely. Because it's like, especially when you kind of dealing with the pressures of the world and you trying to survive, especially growing up how we grow up, it was not like it is now where there's these tons of six-figure jobs and five-figure jobs and these opportunities. Sometimes it just wasn't opportunities for us to kind of make money in that kind of way. And so we're dealing with the trauma of whatever's going on with the world, whatever's going on with our family. And then, and sometimes it could start off, oh, we partying just for fun. And then boom. And then it turns in where at first it's like, oh, we just having fun with the gays at the club and da 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 da. And from what I've never been on drugs, but the way people explain it to me, the way they understand it, it's like it starts off fun and then it turns into something that can make you spiral down and lose everything. And so if you're navigating all this kind of stuff and
Yeah.
nobody is trying to help you or talk about or pretending that they not doing it or pretending that and then, I'm in sex work and I might be high and taking some sexual risks that I would normally if I wasn't high, I wouldn't make these kind of decisions. Or you know what I'm saying? It can put you in so many situations that can get
Girl,
worse and worse.
yes.
And
All the
so,
things you
yeah.
just said are the reasons that I thought it was important. And I mean, even as I got deeper into the work, like that's why I started the organization. And I've even created program after program to further dive deep into that whole cycle. And yes, I mean what you said, so much of what you said is true. That for me, I started off, for me, it was a thing I loved. I had been smoking weed as a child, popping ecstasy when I was 13, moved on to cocaine when I was about 19, and later went to alcohol and cigarettes, which is crazy. But But like, and still love to do those things in moderation, right? And don't feel the need to be specific about which things I like to still do. I think that is a part of where the healing is, where someone can say, "Hey, I choose to do this today. I don't choose to do this tomorrow. I'm confident about the choices I'm making. They are choices that are conducive to my future." Is what's important. So many Black trans women are put in positions where they're making choices out of survival, they're making choices out of pressure, and they don't even know if the choices are conducive to their futures. So I wanted to be their voice to those ladies to say, hey, girl, look at me. I am this person in this work, but I'm also this person in this struggle, and being able to connect the two for ladies. I hope that I can be a possibility model for many to just say they can make it. So many women go through, I've been through so much, from violence to interpersonal violence to being a person who uses drugs and being a person that did sex work, that many people wouldn't make it through what I have pushed through. And to just be someone that people can look to is important to me because I didn't have that to aspire to. Not somebody that lived out loud with all of their identities.
Hmm.
That was something that I hadn't seen. So I thought that was really important to be somebody that is able to express what my struggles are.
Mm. I remember we went to Puerto Rico a couple of years back, and and it was a very different experience for me because I hadn't been introduced to the harm reduction kind of way of kind of engaging with drugs, and it because I am a child of an addict, and that is some of the deeper sources of my trauma. And my mom, that year, my mom, either, I think it was the year before. When was that? 2021, 2022, when we was in Puerto Rico? Somewhere around there. My mom
I
had
think it
passed.
was it 2021?
It might have been 2021. So it had been like a year. My mom had passed in 2020. And so, and because I had dealt with her addiction for so long, some of the stuff that I was learning at that conference, it was really triggering to me. Like it was really even because I even went into like they had like a harm reduction 101 kind of class that they have every year, workshop that they have every year. And as a child of an addict, just how they were talking about it it was getting me emotional and making me offended because the way they were talking about it was it just felt like they wanted me to accept my mom's addiction. And I was like, look, my motherfucking mama, I don't have my mother because she didn't beat this. I don't literally right now, I don't have my mother. So you're talking like making it seem negative that I don't accept that she can't come to my house and do drugs. Like she can't come to my house. And I made that a rule. If you're coming to my house, it is to get clean. If not, stay where the fuck you at. And they were like, oh, that puts them at risk. That's not harm reduction. And it was just this thing that I didn't understand. And part of me still don't understand it. But as a provider of services, that's different when it's my mom and we dealing with personal relationship. I needed to learn about the harm reduction way as a provider of services because there is an emotional disconnection that I can have from a client that I might not can't have from my mom. And so I'm going to have to navigate in order to keep people safe in my work. I need to have that toolbox. And so can you talk to me a
Yeah.
little bit about that and that kind of navigating that?
I love how you framed that. I think that it's really important that we look at the contrast of what it is to be a child of someone who's addicted versus being a service provider. Because when the child must set boundaries, the service provider needs to be there to fill those gaps to help equip that parent with what they need to later on connect back with their child. So I definitely understand boundaries. And also as a provider, like, listen, we have to set boundaries too. And it sends the people into an uproar. Like, the people don't understand when we say no, and like, you can't come here with this, and you can't talk to us like that. And, you know, but I will say, for me, it is fulfilling to be in a space to serve those who may have gone too far sometimes and who may have been barred from other places, because I've been that girl. Like, I have cursed many of people out. I have beat a couple of people up. I have showed my ass where I should not have showed it, literally. And to be able to be who I am today, for me is nothing but God, and I give the credit to God. And if He can forgive me, who am I not to serve other people? So we really model the work we do after serving those people who have been exiled by other organizations, while being under the awareness that those people may have caused harm. But it is not our job to restore, trust and joy in other organizations or other relationships. But it is our job to keep people safe because we have chosen that path. And so many people count Black trans women who do sex work and use drugs out. Like, so many Black trans women are loved by the community until they start using drugs.
Mm.
And then they're a joke. I mean, even if we look at Whitney Houston and how the people treated Whitney Houston, there's nobody there majority of the time to say, girl, whether you use drugs or not, I love you. I support you. And that's typically what we're here to do at We Care Tennessee, is to support those ladies throughout their journey. And we try to provide a space that acknowledges that they have the God-given autonomy to choose to do what they want to do. I can't tell you to stop doing something you do not view as harmful to you. You have to understand and come to a point, right? I'll waste more time trying to fight you through stopping than supporting you where you are while you're using. And that is something that is a job of a provider. It is often hard for families to do, but it is the work that we do. And it's why I think that organizations like ours are so
Important.
needed. Yeah, because not many people want to do their work. Girl, the shit gets hard for me. Like, the shit is hard, okay? The shit is fucking hard. But we do it because we know there's a need.
Absolutely. You just talked about like, yeah, it's the grace. You done did all of this stuff in the past and great stuff and some stuff that, you might be embarrassed about that may have burned some bridges with some people or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But to be where you are, it's like the grace of God or grace of God and people in your life. Um, is there a moment when you feel like an imposter?
I have imposter syndrome, but there's not many moments. Somebody has to do something that nods that I'm not good enough for me to have imposter syndrome. As long as I'm in my mode, a bitch can't tell me shit. Like, I'm not that girl. I come in with high self-confidence in my abilities to do my job. Sometimes I have low self-esteem when it comes to like looks or body image, right? But self-confidence, my ability to get shit done, I never have uh inadequate thoughts.
Mm.
I've always been built like that I know I can do things. Now, if I'm working with someone that doesn't trust me, if I am working around white people that try to flag their academia in my face, those instances I can have imposter syndrome. But just when I'm in my element, just being who I am, it's never a second question because I know God called me to do this work.
Mm.
Like God has opened so many doors for me that I didn't even know could be opened in doing this work that a bitch can't tell me nothing. How about
It-
that?
exactly. And I asked that because I know, especially in this day and time, people love to have airs. People love to say, I got this award, I got this
Oh,
acknowledgement.
girl.
I
Yeah.
got, and so a young person coming up can look at it and be like, oh, I ain't got all of this stuff. And I'm like, baby, we all out in this motherfucker figuring it out. And
When I tell you, I get so tired of hearing bitches say they were the first and the
the first,
45th
the first, we all been the
and
first
the
at something, bitch.
47th. I'm sick of it. I be like, bitch, I don't care if you were the 59th person to breathe. Like, it's too much. Move on.
Facts. So I asked that just because I want young girls who may be watching this, young boys, young trans men, young non-binary people, all the people, but particularly young trans women. We all out here figuring it out as we go.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and we yes, some of us are getting acknowledged by things now, but a lot of times I know in our era, baby, we was out here doing shit and motherfuckers was not acknowledging us.
Baby, let me tell you something. When I was a young person, I was out here making so many mistakes, life altering, changing decisions and mistakes. And I always kept going like, I'm experiencing trauma from my 20s and my 40s, just out of all the shit that I went through. But I now understand that that was God shaping and molding me to do this ministry in the community, with women like myself. And I use that term dearly. Um, we are all different, but like Black trans women and our experiences, while different, also are often aligned with like white supremacy and misogyny and patriarchy. And we just are the underbelly of the suffering of all the bullshit. So, like, my story don't have to be just like yours. It's like the intention from these motherfuckers in control is the same. They don't give a damn how it smacks the shit out of you or me. That's what we get divided in, especially in this political administration. Like, listen, it ain't necessarily about the individual impact, but it's about the macro impact and the intention of the people making the decisions and the people in control, and their attacks against trans people. So, yeah, I'm just always like, I'm no longer doing the work because of my own experiences. My own experiences are important, right? And they are valued, but they have been archived. I am centering the experiences of people who are currently marginalized. I realize I'm a privileged person who sits in a home, has a child, we're happy. Everybody ain't ain't built like that right now. I want to be the inspiration to let them know that it is possible. And I think that that's really important. And that's where I've been doing this work from here lately, especially because I started off doing the work out of a need to heal my own trauma and heal myself, and have since transitioned to really focusing on other people. In doing this work, I did want to help other people, don't get me wrong. But like everything that I birthed was because I saw a need within myself. And it came from a place of humility, of saying, you know what? I want to bare my soul to these people to say, this is something I've been going through. What about you? Now it's not even about what Jasmine going through. Shit, I've been doing good. I'm on the cover of magazines. I'm doing Marsha's plate, right? Like, I'm privileged. Like, not fuck what I'm going through, but yeah, because I believe in equity. It's about who needs the most. If somebody all, got it going on, then how can they leverage their power and their privilege to help somebody else from the same community. So that's where I've been working from. That's what's important to me.
That's beautiful. I love that.
Gimme euphoria, more than peace of mind. It's the joy and space to change the tide. Gimme euphoria, more than peace of mind. It's the joy and space to change the tide. Gimme you. It's a feeling and a high you never come down from. Whoa.
So usually when we close out the show, because we talk about heavy topics and shit like that, trans people usually focus on dysphoria. We have a segment at the end where we talk about euphoria. And so, what is bringing you euphoria this week? What has been bringing you? And it can be something small, it can be something big, it can be whatever. What has been bringing you joy this week?
Girl, I hate to be silly. I'm like, see, when you say euphoria, I think of sex. So there's nothing euphoric happening in the next couple of days that I know of. That I know of. But if I had to replace it, I think my family brings me euphoria. Just being with my mama, being with my child, being with my cousins, being with my other nephews. It just brings me joy because I never thought I would be here.
Mm,
As we talked about early in this interview, the Tandys, the Tanishas, I've seen so many legends and icons and people in my life that will support people like Keisha Iman Dupree. I just had to call her name. People that helped me up when I was at my lowest. To be here after them is such a weird place sometimes that I find euphoria in just enjoying the experiences with those who are here with me now.
mm.
So that's what my euphoria is in connection to my community and my family.
I love that. I have been having my euphoria this week has been I rewatched Sister Act 1 and 2.
Girl, while I was thinking about watching it, I rewatched Waiting to Exhale the other day,
It
and
was
I'm gonna do Set It Off tonight.
in my brain. I was like, because I was getting emotional watching it just because it's a great movie, but also just like it just feels like a time capsule of the time and
Yeah,
it's such a tender moment and tender movie and just
yeah,
I just you can watch it with your family and it just made me feel good watching them back to back in that kind of way. I can't wait till they do the third one. I hope Lauren comes back and does it. But yeah, that's
girl,
what
I
brought
do
me for you.
too. I love Sister Act.
I love it. So tell the people where they can find you, if they want to support your work. Tell them how they do that.
So you can find us at We Care Tennessee 1 on IG, when We Care TN on Facebook. You can go to JasmineJTasaki.com. You can go to Jasmine Tasaki on Facebook or IG. And I am also one of the co-managing executive directors of Black and Pink National. So you can go to blackandpink.org to support us there. And just holler at me out here when you see me. I know so many of your listeners are people that are monumental in the community. So I would love to meet anybody that was listening or watching this podcast. Shout out, because we kind of got cute, girl. I knew you was gonna be cute. I had to get cute now. So we were cute because you never know, baby. You'll give a girl a hat moment in a minute. I was like, girl, I could get on here and she'll have an old brunch hat on. I gotta be ready. But yeah, feel free to holler at me. I'm so down to earth and love to connect with people. So and I love just meeting people in person. It's so good to meet people in person. So yes, and I also encourage you donate to a Black trans-led organization today. When you disconnect off of this podcast, Find you a Black trans-led organization to donate to. We Care Tennessee will love your donation, but even if you donate to We Care, find one of your choice and donate, because we are at a time where funding is low for doing the work that we do. And we need donors, not just funders, right? Funders can change their focus, but a donor believes in what you do. So we need some people that believe in what we do.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Jasmine, I want to thank you for taking the time to spend with me. You know, I love you.
Thank
You're one
you.
of my favorite people in community.
I
And
love you too. Thank you so much, sis. This was so good.
yeah, I love it. Thank you for being open and I appreciate you. I will put all of her links on the bottom so y'all can support her, and we will see y'all next week. Have a wonderful day. The best way to support is to engage with the content. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Another way to support, if you got a couple of dollars, become a patron. And if you can't do any of that, you can at least follow us on social media, where you'll get our random hot takes and just us sharing all the people and things that we love that is Black, trans, queer, centered. Yeah, come check us out.